Hey everyone, welcome to the Bio Breakthroughs podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is JD Mowery, the CEO at KBI Biopharma. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you, Jared?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you again. It's been a couple months.
Yeah, it has. I can't believe it's happened that fast already.
I know. I was just going through. We just put up a quick montage video. There's actually a part where I'm pointing to at your booth. I loved it. I loved your host setup.
Thank you.
I can't believe that was almost 3 months ago.
Almost, yeah.
Wild.
Yes.
Well, super excited to have you on the show. I know we talked about this back in Boston, and now we're making it happen. Would love just for you to tell the audience a little bit about your background and then your path to becoming CEO at KBI.
Sure, I appreciate it, Jared. And thank you for having me to start with. It's a great opportunity to talk a little bit about my background, but more importantly, talk about KBI. It's been a wild ride. I mean, I started on the 1st of April, and I kind of walk you through my background and kind of what brought me here and kind of, why I think I'm the ideal fit to help kind of take KBI to the next steps and kind of create what we're talking about as being a next generation CDMO. So I started my career out actually in the chemical industry, and I spent about 7 years doing that. And in 2007, I had an opportunity to move into the biopharma space and start up a small molecule sterile injectable organization back in Ohio. We were eventually acquired by Daiichi Sankyo after we brought to market a sterile suspension product that had been around for around 50 years and had never had a generic equivalent. So that was kind of our claim to fame and really what the pivotal moment for that organization. Shortly thereafter, I had a chance to move over to Genentech and help start up their drug product facility that's out in Oregon outside of Portland. Spent a lot of time with that team transferring processes from facilities over in Europe into that site and getting it ready to go for commercialization. Was a key player in helping that site gain licensure for some of the key products that Genentech puts on the market. And then around 2014, we had finished the transfer of all of those products into the facility. And I had an opportunity to move over to Global MSAT, and that was really where I kind of got my first exposure to operating on the CDMO side of our business. Oversight of some of our drug product partners at that time. And I spent about a year doing that. And then in 2015, Lonza was looking for someone to come in and help build and start up their cell and gene therapy facility out in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I had an opportunity to go be part of a very special team. And that was really my first taste in the CDMO space from that side of the table. And I fell in love with it very, very quickly. It really suits my nature from a kind of a problem solving perspective, but also helping people understand how important relationships are in accomplishing great things. And I think the CDMO space is really where you kind of test that in yourself as a leader. In 2018, Juno was trying to get their product and their facility ready for commercialization out in the Seattle area. And many of my mentors and former colleagues from my days in Genentech were part of that kind of transformation and kind of helping them along that journey. So I went out and joined them as part of that piece of the process. They were fairly far along, kind of late phase, getting ready for BLA and helped to kind of get that organization ready for commercialization. And then 2019, I had a chance to move to Copenhagen and run their AGC Biologics facility. And it was a phenomenal opportunity for me, for the family. It was an interesting time because it was also around the time COVID hit by January of that year. So new culture, fabulous team, doing a lot of mammalian microbial manufacturing. And I did that for about a year, and then AGC asked me to come back to the United States and help run North American operations. So by the time I came back, I had responsibility for our facility in Seattle, as well as a 20,000 liter facility out in Boulder, Colorado. And through that period of time, while I was with them, we made the acquisition of the former Novartis Avexis site that's in Longmont, Colorado, for cell and gene therapy. So kind of closing out the loop there and having kind of the established U.S. operations that brought cell and gene to North America for AGC. And then in April of 2022, I had a chance to go join Treadwell Therapeutics as their chief operating officer, back to the innovator side again, and kind of help them on their journey for IPO and getting them ready to launch. And it was a fabulous team. They do a lot of very, very special things for a small organization of less than 50 people. You've got 3 major assets in the clinic for small molecule, They've got a discovery engine for biologics and a discovery engine for cell and gene therapy on the TCR side of things. So great opportunity. Along that journey, I actually had a chance to interact and meet Tim Mowery, who's the chairman of the board at JSR. And Tim and I, we really, really clicked. He is just a wonderful human being. He's an authentic leader. And then Eric Johnson, who is the CEO of JSR, similar. They're very, very similar personalities. They're just great to be around. And the more we talked about the opportunity at KBI and what it would look like to come in and be part of really shoring up the foundation of the business, really bringing in a high level of expectations around operational delivery, it really fit with what I enjoy doing, what I'm really, really good at. And I'd reached a point where I knew for sure I wanted to go back onto the CDMO side of things. And honestly, this is where I'll spend the rest of my career. It's a special, special place. I walk into different facilities and meet different teams and talk to different people. And I feel like I uncover something new that we're capable of that the market hasn't even learned about yet. And that part's extremely exciting. And to be able to get to do it with great people that enjoy taking good care of one another and are having a lot of fun doing it together, it's fabulous.
Well, I'm sure being on the CDMO side, it allows you to always keep it fresh, like you were saying, right? There doesn't seem like there's ever that stack. Like you're always working with a variety of organizations, right? I can see when that's why I love doing these in videos, right? Your eyes light up, you're smiling. It's exciting.
For sure.
Well, KBI Biopharma is lucky to have you,
You.
be on the team. Can you give the audience, let's say there's a portion of the audience that isn't familiar. Can you give us a broad overview of the company and where things are at today?
Yeah, KBI, for those that aren't familiar, we actually kind of started our journey when it was being created, more on the analytical services side of things. So really helping to develop assays, perform assays as standalone services. And over the years evolved into a true contract development manufacturing organization, offering both clinical and commercial manufacturing in the mammalian space, in the microbial space, as well as in the cell therapy space. We operate at 8 different locations. So we've got 3 in the greater North Carolina RTP area. We have 2 in Colorado, Boulder and Louisville. We have a cell therapy facility in the Woodlands, Texas. We have an analytical services lab in Leuven, which is just outside of Brussels. And then we have a facility in Geneva as well. And the facility in Geneva is actually where the Solexus cell line development and KBI, that operational consolidation came to life in that building. Right? They all share the same facility. So that's an interesting story as well. We are extremely talented at solving extremely difficult problems. So when you think about molecules that are very complex or that may be struggling to kind of progress through the cell line development in early phases, our teams excel at helping to solve those kinds of challenges and bring those to market and help them reach kind of their full potential. Whether it's challenges on the tighter side of things or just simple processing challenges that from a stability perspective, I think that's where our team really sets ourselves apart and where we really excel.
And I guess what makes KBI a desirable CDMO partner?
Yeah, a couple things for me. When I look at the team that we have, I've already touched on kind of the technical acumen that we have, but I also watch the relationships that we have with our customers. And it's not always easy. There's a lot of difficult challenges. There's a lot of pressure on both sides. But when I look at the relationships that we have teams that are extremely transparent. They're very collaborative. I get so much positive feedback from our customers around the way we work with them and the ability to help them progress through their journey. And when you take those kinds of relationships, you take the technical acumen, we've got some state-of-the-art facilities. We've got one in North Carolina that was a finalist for ISPE Facility of the Year. You combine all of those things with an organization that sits within the JSR Life Sciences ecosystem. And now you've also got access to some of the materials we manufacture. We've also got our own contract research organization. We have the ability to leverage that wider brain trust across the entire globe. And it makes it a very special place. And to be able to do that and have a partner that you can trust to help carry your project all the way through to commercialization and beyond, it's tough to find that.
And so you recently had a consolidation, KBI and Solexus.
Yeah.
Became one organization. How does this benefit clients, this consolidation?
Yeah, it's great. So the operational consolidation of Solexus and KBI together, which were already owned by JSR, gave us the ability to take the best practices with from both organizations and get those combined into one true offering, so it's more integrated, more seamless. We had many relationships, and we still do to this day, for Solexis customers that became KBI customers and vice versa. But by doing so, and this operational consolidation allowed us to really streamline that process, so that things, from a proposal perspective or just the way the projects are managed, the release of products and getting them to progress through even commercialization, it gave us much more flexibility to be able to do that, and it also allowed, from a customer experience perspective, to really have that more integrated offering and experience.
And we're like putting together a consolidation like this. Was this something that you've had experience in the past, or was this a new experience for you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've done it on multiple scales. So, I mean, I've gone through acquisitions and really kind of it's similar to what we needed to do there. So I was part of kind of when Roche acquired Genentech, and through that phase and that journey. I also had experience when I was with, I'd mentioned PharmaForce was the company I was with in Ohio when Daiichi acquired us. I'd also been with Juno through the Celgene, and kind of the front end of the BMS was kind of around the time I was exiting the Celgene business. So I've had multiple experiences with it. This was a different scale and a bit of a different model because they were already working so closely together. So that it was fun. It was a fun time to get to watch those teams go through that journey together. And we're still on it, right? It's one of those things where you have to be very deliberate and continue to kind of focus on getting those cultures and those offerings together, and make sure we're taking the best ideas from all possible avenues and really getting those onto the table.
Now, over the course of your career, you've worked for a lot of great companies. Typically, when I've had these conversations with people, there's been a couple core things that they've learned as they've built up their skill set over their career from each company that they've been at. You've been at, like I said, a lot of top companies, well-known companies in the space.
Mm-hmm.
This may not be an easy question, but I think it'd be an interesting one to hear your thoughts on. When you look at these companies that you have been at over the course of your career, what are like some key maybe takeaways or areas that you were able to add to your skill set after working at these types of organizations that led up to you being at KBI now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. So one thing to note that kind of plays into this answer is, since I joined KBI, I think I'm up around 100 one-on-ones with key talent, key individuals across our company. And I asked them, kind of what makes you most proud about being here at KBI? And 99% of them, the first answer out of their mouth is our people and how we take care of one another. And that's probably the single most important thing that I've taken from my journey along the way, is how important that is. Whether you're on the innovator side or on the CDMO side, we talk often here about how important it is to understand the impact of your work on the person on your left and the person on your right. And if we can keep that in mind, and we can make sure we're doing the best to take care of one another, how everything becomes incrementally easier to accomplish, and honestly a lot more fun to do together. So that's probably the single biggest. But then you also think about kind of the maturity of organizations and the business processes, and how important those are to get implemented into any organization. A lot of places you'll hear the term process, and it's really not a process. It's actually a person that kind of filled a void, and then it kind of just carries with that person forever. But then that person kind of rides off into the sunset, and the process, as it was claimed, kind of falls apart. So I think really challenging yourself and making sure that you do have truly robust processes in place, whether it's on the GMP side or the business side, wherever it lies, those are so important, so that the business can run. And allow the people that are, kind of the core talent for us, especially on the CDMO side of things, where people are paying for a service, to really, leverage their acumen, whether it's, whatever the discipline is, whether it's manufacturing or manufacturing science and technology or quality, any place in the business that they can actually leverage their experience to deliver on that work product, and not necessarily have to think as much about the business processes, because they become muscle memory.
My last question for you, JD, is around your vision for the future of the company.
Yeah, it's a great question. We're laying out kind of our 5-year roadmap, and we're going to unveil that during our Q3 all hands for our team. But I will tell you that, for us, we're talking about what we want to become as a next generation CDMO. And for us, there's 3 key pillars, and that's around the kind of the business risk and how we want to approach that for our customers, especially many that are first in human, and how we help them to kind of gain entry and be able to create novel therapies that actually make it to the clinical trials and have an opportunity to reach market and take care of patients. We also wanted to, kind of the middle pillar when I pictured in my head, is around being more involved from a thought leadership perspective on the regulatory affairs and the quality side of things. I think that's a massive opportunity within the CDMO space to kind of carve that out. And then we've recently promoted Sigma Mustafa to our Chief Scientific Officer, and a key piece of that, it comes with standing up an R&D unit that we can actually use and leverage the entire JSR Life Sciences ecosystem on how we provide offerings and solutions to our customers before they even know that they need them. So those will be the three things that we really focus on along this journey. But those are, to me, pivotal for us in the space where customers are looking for more of a partner than a transactional relationship.
Well, JD, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the Bio Breakthroughs podcast. I hope we can have you come back on again in the near future. And wishing you the best of luck, and can't wait to talk again real soon.
Thank you, Jared. It's a pleasure being here.